Hello everyone, welcome to this little chat. I thought I'd take this opportunity to kind of walk through what we've learned so far from about 8th edition from Games Workshop, and not go over, what does this mean for the game kind of thing. There's lots of other channels doing that, and some of them are very good. Frontline Gaming has a really good series of videos about that. I'm really just no one should have any trouble finding out information they need to know. What I would like to do today really is just kind of chat through what does it mean for my armies, the ones that I have, in the way I play. Because these last few weeks we've seen quite a lot of information coming from GW, and that's actually their credit. They're not letting a rumor mill do things for us and kind of mislead us, get our expectations up, get our emotions riled up. They're actually doing some real change management, and I think it's very, very good. And I've got some notes here I'll reference just to make sure I don't forget anything. But I wanted to really, I would say, if you saw my channel update, I ranted a little bit about, how I hate change, and then that's true. But because of the way GW has actually handled the release of information, the change management aspects, I'm actually going from hating this to actually hyped up for it. I'm really excited. It's not all roses, not all wonderful, but still, I can't wait for the new edition to come out. Looking forward to it. So before we actually get into all those little impacts, I wanted to start with kind of two. I want to bookend this thing right at the beginning. I want to comment on the thing that I think that's the best from a personal perspective and the worst from a personal perspective. Now you might not agree, and that's entirely okay. This is just, again, how 8th edition is going to affect, from what I can tell so far, the way I play my armies and the conversions I do. Okay, so the first thing that's really amazing, I think this is by and large the best news, is GW is actually explicitly supporting 3 different ways of playing the game. They're acknowledging and helping facilitate the competitive side of the game, which we all know has been there, and we know that's been seriously broken by 7th. There's the open play style, which is kind of what they introduced with the Age of Sigmar. Play with anything you want, don't worry about points, just throw the models down and have fun. Which, okay, I don't think it was handled well with Age of Sigmar. Really kind of threw everybody into a complete tizzy, and rightly so, because there's a lot of confusion. But I think that they're approaching it a little more intelligently this time, because the concept is, just play what you want. Forget the rules about allies and those detachments, all this fancy stuff, and just have fun rolling dice. So they're going to make a way for that possible. I call it open play, I think. But then they're acknowledging in a much more explicit way the whole narrative idea of play. It's not just little sidebars in the book anymore called forging a narrative. This is actually narrative play. Talk with your opponent, put together the armies that you want to play with a storyline behind it, and then go to town. It sounds like there'll be point values involved for narrative play. Oddly, it sounds like that might be different than competitive play. I don't know. But at least they're really encouraging that and putting it out there as a legitimate part of the game. So that means, for me, my Exodites, which are a combination of 3 different codices so far, I don't have to worry about the stupid allies matrix and the fact that they don't get along real well, the Tyranid pieces with the Dark Eldar pieces with the Eldar pieces. I can play them all together. I don't have to worry about the fact that my fluff for my Tau Sept and its human Gavesa allies, I don't have to worry about the allies matrix telling me that, well, they're desperate allies, so they're not really going to work together well. No, I can have them working right alongside each other, like I always envisioned them to be working. So I think that's pretty cool. All right, so that's the thumbs up. Fantastic. Really excited. Now the thing I'm really not looking forward to, that's the whole morale aspect. Now, I'm going to walk through this kind of in the way my brain has processed it. So I'm going to start off a little different than I'm going to end up here. But, when they came out with this whole Age of Sigmar morale system, when I was wanting to get into fantasy, I just completely said no. I did not like the idea that you made a morale check, supposedly a morale check, at the end of your phase, and added a number of models, and if you, however many points you missed your morale check by, that's how many models you lost, or in this case, how many wounds you have to take. It does not make sense to me. I grew up, since I was in high school, playing games that revolved around a rally and route type of mechanic. There's a lot to that, but anyway, and here we played the whole idea of falling back since 5th edition when I started, and now all that dynamic is entirely gone. So I just really don't like that. It's not going to keep me from playing 8th, but it kind of messes with my mood. Now, I did sit and think around a little bit about it, and I came to the idea, understanding, before I really read the morale piece that GW published, but I thought, well, you know what? I guess it could make sense as you get under fire and panic starts to set in. Individuals will, break down the discipline side of things, and they'll accidentally, in a panic, expose themselves a little more. They'll be more vulnerable to fire. You'll probably take a little bit more casualties as a result. So I said, okay, I can kind of understand it. So at that point, I'm grieving the route rally mechanics loss, but at least I could see some logic behind the mechanism that they got now. And then when GW produced their information about the morale, and they referenced the fact that, well, it represents guys who just quit the field, and more importantly, guys that are decided to leave carrying the wounded, that made a lot more sense. So I'm kind of coming around to the concept. I still don't like it. I'm coming around. But you know what? Maybe the thing that bothered me the most is really this idea that I can't shoot someone off an objective by forcing them to fall back. The opponent's just going to keep their units there, and it's going to be, instead of being a historical battle, the history is replete with all these instances of enemy being forced off of an objective only to later regroup and charge back and take. That's the whole seesaw of battle. Well, now it's going to go from that seesaw on the tabletop to more of a meat grinder. You just keep feeding units in until they die and replace it with more units. Kind of like Russian tactics. And anyway, I didn't like that. I didn't like that at all. It eats at me. And I guess looking back on it, I guess what's really is the problem is the rally and route type mechanic is really about command and control. One of the things in a lot of games, just games in general, is you have, as the player, 100% control over your pieces, in our case, soldiers. In a simulation, which is what I like war game simulations, you don't really have, like in reality, complete control over your units. They will break. They will be pinned. They will do things that you don't want them to do at certain times. There are some games that use a pinning mechanic, like Bolt Action does. The route and rally of 40K is all about that. Just when you think you've got your unit under control, it breaks. It falls back. It's not there. You've lost control, right? And this approach that GW is moving to kind of removes that command and control mechanic. Now, I guess, moving to a situation where I've got complete control over my units. No ifs, ands, or buts, no questions, nothing can be taken away from me control-wise. So, I guess in the end, it has to be a tactical decision on my part, or the opponent's part, to withdraw a unit from an objective to keep from getting wiped out. I don't know how likely it's going to be, but maybe I guess that's a little bit more realistic. It has to be a decision to withdraw instead of losing. I don't know. So again, I'm still not convinced on the morale thing. I don't know. We'll have to see when it comes out. But let's go through the rest of the things and how they impact my armies particularly. Movement. Let's talk about that one first. because that was the first thing they really kind of released. Everything's going to have its own movement value, which is, I think, perfectly fine. I don't have any problems with that at all. The problem is, we have a lot of questions now. Yeah, they gave us some hints. What do you call it? The Space Marines and the Dreadnoughts move 6, Terminators move 5. That's all we found out. We don't know if the Orcs can move faster. We don't know if we do know that theoretically they're saying Eldar should move faster and the Gantz Tyranids should move a lot faster. But what does that mean? How many inches can they move? So think about all the units in your army. We don't know how most of them are going to move. So it's a lot more questions are left to answer than were answered by that. But I think it's a good thing in the end. Having a lot more variety that way makes a lot more sense. At least in my mind it does. Questions though, like I said, will jet bikes still be able to move 12 inches and be able to run, well, Eldar jet bikes, can they move 48 inches across the table during a turn? Don't know. Can my Orcs move more than 6 inches in a run? Can my Tyranid warriors, which are supposed to be larger, and hopefully Tyranids in general will move faster, will they move faster than 6 inches? Mine represent Dragon Master Dragon Knights. They're mounted on a Raptor, so I hope they go faster than 6 inches. So we'll see, but that's kind of where I'm going for there. But the biggest impact for me personally in this whole movement space is the fact that the move and run happens together. Personally, I have no problem with that. I'm not upset about the mechanic at all. But it does remove a tactical approach that a lot of us use. And that is, and I've even talked about this in a couple of my tactical videos, is you have several units on the tabletop. During the shooting phase, you fire one, perfect line of sight, no obstructions, hit the opponent. Then, in order to shield it from return fire, you take another unit and you move it in front with its run or flat out move, giving you cover. You cannot do that now. Now you have to run during the movement phase. You have to go flat out during the movement phase. The whole Devilfish Fish of Fury thing is completely right out, and that's okay. I never really used that one. But, you know, really, I think this is for the better. Not only does it simplify the game like they want, speed it up, but I think it's a little more realistic. I guess looking back, if I really think hard about this, I think I'm probably gaming the system a little bit there, because it takes a lot of coordination and training for 2 units in an army to stage that little dance of you shoot, then I cover you, with a physical interposition between you and the enemy. In battle, there's a lot of chaos. It's not necessarily going to happen. As a matter of fact, it probably isn't very useful. So it's probably good that that's gone. It will be one less gimmick that'll be on the table. But there is one more question that's out there. How does terrain affect movement now? It's not D6. It can't be 2D6. Pick the highest because everybody has different movement values. Is it going to be terrain costs 2 times movement? So for every 1 inch of rough terrain you move through, or area terrain, it's going to cost you 2 inches of movement? Who knows? So that's a question out there. The psychic phase. This one's a good one. You know, I don't have a lot of psychers in my armies. I do like warp heads. They're fun. And my Dragon Masters do have it because it comes with the HQ, almost every single HQ that's out there. And my Eldar. Well, I don't spam a lot of psychic, usually. It's there for flavor. But I do like my Eldar psychic stuff. I don't know why. I really don't know why. Maybe it's just because of the flavor. It's not something I gamble on or bank on it's not part of my tactics, the psychic phase, but it really adds to the narrative, the fluff, the feel of the game. But here it's going to change quite a bit. No warp pool, which is probably a good thing. It's a lot like casting spells in Mordheim or Age of Sigmar, I guess, now. But the biggest thing I think it's going to affect is the fact that now, instead of having all these disciplines from which you can randomly pick your powers, you have a small list. I'm expecting it to be a much smaller list on your war scroll. So instead of my Eldar Farseer being able to take from, I think, 3 or 4 different disciplines, that's having a choice of 24, he might only be limited to 6. My warlock has 12 that he could normally choose from. He's only going to be limited to really 6, maybe less than that. Who knows? So there's still some questions there. I have to wait till the War Scrolls come out to find out for sure. But I'm expecting to lose a little variety, and as a result, maybe a little flavor as well. But we'll see. The cool thing is, though, I don't expect the orcs to be any worse off than the Tyranids being worse off, because they only had 6 you could choose from. Well, if you count the demonology, the orcs got 12, but I never used that. I just stuck with the 6 orky ones. It just fit a little better. So I'm looking forward to the effect on my Dragon Masters and my orcs. I'm going to wait and see with my Eldar. Now, one thing that I've noticed, think about it, if everybody's going to have a psychic ability or some representation of the psychic phase, what does that mean then, really? Dark Eldar fluff is they avoid it because they don't want to invite Slaanesh in. The Tau don't have a psychic presence, or barely a psychic presence. They don't have psychers. The Ethereals are supposed to have some pheromone-based abilities. Are they going to change the fluff now and make the Eldar, or Dark Eldar, eager to use warp? Are they going to change the Tau to have warp-based powers for the Ethereals instead of pheromone-based powers? I don't know if I like that, but those are the questions outstanding there. Now, a lot of the fun comes in the shooting ways. Weapon profiles and hitting, all this stuff is going to be a big improvement. I look at it, and there's a lot to go through in the hitting. So I kind of narrowed it down just a few things. First of all, it's a whole lot simpler, thankfully. One of the things I've taught a lot of kids how to play 40K, and it's always been kind of difficult to grasp the concept of what do I need to roll to hit. Now it's so easy. A child can do it. That's a good move on GW's part. I'm thankful for that. What's really nice, though, is the biggest thing that's going to affect me 100% for the positive is the whole idea that every model can shoot at anything it wants, even within the unit. So finally, my Guardian squads don't have to waste their heavy weapon to shoot at the close infantry models, or waste their shuriken catapults when they're going against a tank, because that's what the Bright Lance has to shoot at. Similarly, my Guardsmen, I don't have to waste all those extra shots. My mortar can fire at something different than my las guns. They can fire at something different than my captain, or not my captain, sorry, my sergeant. They can all shoot at different things where the unit, the weapon they have can yield the maximum results. That is a huge improvement right out of the gate, and very realistic. On some of the Facebook comments and stuff going on, I mentioned, this is perfectly in line with the way actual units work. I used one example. I think I even talked about this in one of my earlier Academy videos. The German infantry section, 10 men or so, was built around a machine gun, light machine gun, MG32 or 34 or 42, gunner, loader, and assistant loader, basically. The other 7 guys and the sergeant together, all of them were all riflemen. Their job was to protect the machine gun. The machine gun was the squad, and what the machine gun shot at was the primary target of the squad. The rest of the guys didn't shoot at the same target. They shot at any threat that was approaching the machine gun. So it was very likely they were shooting at multiple targets completely separate from what the machine gunner was shooting at. I'm so excited about that huge change. Infantry squads will actually be able to act like infantry squads. Yes, okay, really, really cool. Now, that does, of course, remove any need for the Tau to have a target lock war gear option now. Finally, one of my favorite rules changes. It even makes sense. The twin linked doubles the number of shots the way it should have in the first place. You put 2 weapons side by side, fire them both. You don't hit more. You're not more likely to hit. You have more shots firing down. You might hit more than what you normally would with one weapon. So to illustrate the impact, we'll use an Orc Dakajet because it's 3 Supig Shootas, 3 shots each, twin-linked. Old 7th edition rules, that's 9 shots. Ballistic skill, now the twin-linked, remember, so ballistic skill 2, rerolling. You basically have a 50% chance of hitting with a twin-linked rule there. So that's 4.5 hits, average. Under the new rules, it's twin-linked doesn't change your accuracy at all. It just doubles the number of hits, shots. So I go from 9 shots to a flyer with 18 shots. Daka! I'm so excited about that. And with the ballistic skill of 2, I'm averaging 6 hits. So that's a huge improvement right there. And I usually run my Tau Crisis suits with 2 weapons anyway, 2 fusion blasters or 2 missile pods to get the extra hits. Now, hopefully the price point, there won't be a difference now. There won't be this twin-linked versus two systems. I don't know. Let's see how it plays out. But it actually almost legitimizes my approach on equipping crisis suits. So I'm very, very happy about that. So the other thing is everything can wound everything. That sounds bad when you first start thinking about it, but the way they're setting it up is actually pretty clever, and I think it balances things a little bit more. You don't have this table to reference anymore. It's very simple. If you equal the strength, it's a 4-up. Sorry, if your strength equals toughness, you wound on a 4-up. If you're greater than the toughness, it's a 5-up. If you're double or more than toughness, it's 2-up. On the other side, if your strength is less than toughness, you wound on a 5. If your strength is less than half of, I think it's less than half of the toughness, I don't think it's equal to or less, it's hitting on a 6, or wounding on a 6. That means now, using the old toughness stats, my las guns, strength 3, can now wound Necron Wraiths on a 5 and a 6 instead of just 6. I like that. Forces more saves, more potential wounds going in. That's better for me. My las guns start having some bite to them. All right, so I'm kind of liking where the wounds are headed, but looking at the tanks, the way they're doing that now, they have an armor save like 3-up is what it looks like. I'm using Lehman Russ because I have an armored company type stuff. The battle cannons do D6 wounds. Las cannons do D6 wounds, and also are probably they're -3 armor save. So I'll have a 6-up armor save against the las cannon. I cannot wait to play against Joker's Katachin Armored Company again under 8th edition. It is going to be fun. I just envision the whole Battle of Kursk happening all over again. Wrecks litter in the field. That brings up one of the questions that this does bring when it comes to vehicles. Are we going to be simply removing them off the board when they're wrecked? Now, using Age of Sigmar as an example, and some of the rumblings I've heard, it sounds like yes. Personally, I don't like that. Matter of fact, I'll tell you now that a wrecked vehicle provides great cover and line-of-sight blocking. There's a lot of value from a tactical perspective leaving it there. It could even interfere with movement, and that adds a tactical layer to the game. So in my videos, in the games that I play for this channel, I'm going to leave vehicle wrecks, on the table as cover, as line-of-sight blocker. So just kind of be forewarned about that. I don't know if that's how we'll play at the store. I don't know what the house rules will be there, but as far as this channel goes, I like that idea of the wrecks being in place. Okay. All right. Now assaults. This is one of the largest areas of change, and there's a lot of goodness in this space. First of all, there's no more initiative stat. It's nowhere to be found. And that's because I like what they've done here. The charging units all attack first. Then the players trade off one at a time, picking another unit to respond with. So when my orcs charge in, all the boys strike first, get the full effect of their attacks, then they get destroyed by the Space Marines. Okay, and so they at least get the full impact of that initial charge, as it should be. My Dragon Warriors, the Incubi, in my Exite army, they don't have to worry about not having plasma grenades. If they charge, and then they're going to be able to strike first, which is devastating considering their weapon profiles, and hopefully those weapon profiles will translate to 8th almost identically. So what this actually does is provide a lot of tactical layers, because you actually have to do a little bit of a dance, offensively and defensively, to keep your units out of charge range or get units into charge range, then execute the charges so you get all your attacks first. And then if your combats go into a second round, the next turn, now you've got the whole tactical layer of which unit do I strike back with first. Because you now have to decide, do you want this particular unit to take out this unit before this unit gets destroyed by this unit? You know, you got to have those decisions now. That's a whole other layer of tactics, and I really enjoy that aspect. That was one thing that I kind of thought would be great about Age of Sigmar. It didn't actually translate well on the tabletop in that game, but that was all for the general handbook, and things may have changed, but I'm not going to Age of Sigmar, just so you know. So that's actually very, very good. I like that. And the whole idea of being able to charge multiple targets, you know, it used to be I'd have to bunch up all my orc boys into a small bunch so that I could hit a unit and make sure all of them could be within 2 inches of the base-to-base contact guys so they could all get their attacks. Now, I don't have to worry about that. I can string them all in a long line, charge forward with a primary target, and let all the boys attack any units that are nearby. Just going in for multiple. That way they can all hit. I can tie up multiple units at once. All the Orc boys charging get to roll first. I could do damage on multiple units before taking any damage back. That's pretty good. So, I mean, there's a lot of potential there. I cannot wait to try it out and start playing with that and practicing it. Let's see what else. Oh yeah, one of the biggest changes. Very, very, very important. And actually, my son, it'll probably make him. It actually does make him really happy. He keeps talking about how Wraith Knights are OP when it comes to Imperial Knights and close combat and all that. And yeah, a lot of people run the Wraith Knight with the D weapon. And yes, in close combat, Knight is really disadvantaged because they have to really play with the cover so that the Wraith Knight has to strike last. Usually they're going to strike initiative 5. They're going to strike first. Very likely take out the Imperial Knight. And even if they go into second round of initiative, if they didn't do it the first round, they're going to take them out the second round. Because again, the Wraith Knight goes first. Here now, Imperial Knight, if it charges first, it gets to go first. Now granted, the whole wound system is different here. There's no D weapons. But the idea that the Wraith Knight is not an automatic going first against the Imperial Knight levels the playing field significantly. And again, helps put in that tactical tension about playing with your distances to make sure you get the charge first, or you make sure you're not charged until you want to charge, right? Big improvement there. Another aspect is, since my opponent's weapon skill doesn't modify my chances to hit, well, let's see what the war scrolls say. But some of my units might be a little better in close combat than others. I would expect, for example, my Incubi, which are a close combat weapon unit, will hit on 3s, if not 2s. Hopefully it's 3s. My Guardsmen will probably still hit on 4s. Orcs hopefully will still hit on 3s. Doesn't matter what my opponent's weapon skill is. That will be very good. And then, because pistol can be used in melee now. And I don't quite know the mechanic. There's been so much information, I've kind of lost track of that one. But the idea that you can use the pistol profile in the close combat makes a lot of sense, and it's very, very thematic and narrative. You know, it'd be great to use that pistol. Not a plasma, but a needler pistol with two up wound because of the poison from my Dark Eldar against an attacker. That's in close combat. That'd be great. But you know what? I don't see much about challenges. Challenges were really, yeah, they slowed the game down, but they were a big part of the narrative of the actual battle. They added a lot of flavor to it. Glorious Intervention didn't get to happen very often. I was able to catch it on film once, just once. Actually, it was the first time I ever saw it used. Happened to be that way. But, you know, I don't know if they're going to do anything with that. Even with the... I don't even know how the independent character is going to play into that challenge kind of thing. In Age of Sigmar, your sergeant model is really just another model with a slightly different stat line. So we'll have to see what that means. So again, we have to wait till the rules drop. They're building excitement. Large creatures equal vehicles. That's a whole new thing. That's really good. Gargantuan creatures are gone. Super heavy vehicles, gone. Monster creatures, vehicles, it's wounds either way. No hull points. It's all wounds. Strength, toughness, armor saves, both types. That's huge. That's a big improvement. Now, this is going to make my Leman Russ much more effective. My Chimera is hopefully more effective. I won't be having these little, mobile boxes popping all the time. They'll probably have a lower armor save, maybe a 4-up, but they'll have probably enough wounds to last a couple turns getting their job done, getting my guys to the front. They won't automatically be popped in my back line all the time. The problem is that, the reality of warfare with vehicles versus creatures, and I'm just looking at living organic thing versus a vehicle, mechanical thing, is you can immobilize a vehicle. They can throw treads, explosions will rip a tread off, pop tires, break axles. Those things can happen. Everyone's inside's fine, guns are still working, but the thing can't move. I'm just really worried that mechanic of the game is gone. I mean, every game I've played that had armored fighting vehicles in it has some mobilization mechanic in it. And I'm worried that that's not going to be possible here, which is really a shame because it takes a whole layer out of the tension that can be on the battlefield. You're moving up with your tanks, especially one that's carrying guys in it. It gets immobilized, throws a track. Heck, the whole movie Fury would be tossed out because it couldn't happen. Mine would go off underneath the track. If you can't mobilize a tank in this game, you can't have the movie Fury because you just keep going on. So, anyway, okay, I guess maybe I went ranting a little bit there. I guess in the end, it's a big improvement. We don't have to worry about the one-shot killing off our tanks, the explosion result. Morkonauts are finally... I can't wait to get in my Orc army. That's one of the things I'll be able to add are Morkonauts, because I always liked the model. I knew it was 5 hull points and it could be exploded with a las cannon shot. What's the point? I mean, it's a waste of money. I'm not going to use it that often. It wasn't a good investment. Now, there's a reason. It looks like it's going to be viable now. So I'm really pleased about that. And one of the best things about this whole thing, the getting rid of the gargantuan creatures, making vehicles and monster creatures all part of the same class, if you will. They've gotten rid of this huge chasm between gargantuan and super heavy and monster creature and vehicle. It used to be you had the little stuff was easy to kill, big stuff was almost impossible to kill. It would dynamically change the game. Now everything's going to be kind of in a continuum. So who knows, maybe, yes, the Imperial Knight will be a little harder to take down. Right, that might be hard to take down, but it doesn't get all its special abilities that it used to have. The vehicles will be buffed more. Monster creatures will be buffed a little bit more. And it'll hopefully smooth those vehicles that kind of sat between the two, like a Morkonaut, like a Malkador, will probably be a little bit more of a blend. And it won't be this huge difference. People won't freak out when you see a Wraith Knight on the table or an Imperial Knight on the table anymore. So that's pretty good. Now, characters is another big change. And it's cool. They can't join units now. That kind of worries some people sometimes real quick. But that's good. I mean, you can't use them to shield your guys now. I used to have the Archon can take Shadowfield armor, 2-up save until he fails it. But it stays active as a 2-up save until the end of that phase. So he could tank wounds all day for the squad. So you can't do that anymore. Okay. You also can't hide your guy inside those units. Now he's out on his own. Now, fortunately, here's where one of the closest unit rules does come in. You can't target a character with less than 10 wounds. Sorry, toughness 10, I think it is. No, maybe it is 10 wounds. Unless he's the closest model to you, to the firing unit. So actually, though you can't put your character in a unit, you can surround him by plenty of units to keep him completely unable to be assailed at all. Now, it looks like snipers can do it, which is exactly the way it should be, but at least you can protect this guy, and now he has a radius of effect. Can affect multiple units instead of just the one unit he's attached to. That's pretty good. Now, it does change the dynamics a bit with my Tau drone squadrons, because now I really can't have a drone squadron attached to him, but maybe the drone controller will allow me to use his ballistic skill for a couple different drone units, nearby drone units. That might be good. My ethereal, I can now protect him a lot better because I won't need to worry about the squishy Tau having to pack 12 guys in the unit, plus a Cadre Fireblade, plus 2 drones for the Cadre Fireblade, plus 2 drones for the Shazui, plus 2 drones for the Ethereal, to get enough bodies to keep my Ethereal alive. I just got to surround them by 3 or 4 units. And I don't have to worry about the Ethereal being popped out. You know, they won't give up kill points easy anymore. That's very, very big benefit. Now the thing is though, how's this going to affect my Imperial Guard platoon commanders and company commanders? Because they're part of a 5-man unit. So I don't know what that means yet. But the orders that they're going to be able to issue will still be there. That's very good. And I won't go into the specifics about the first rank fire, second rank fire, the things they leaked about the, I can't really call it a leak, the things they told us about the Astra Militarum, Imperial Guard abilities. But it really sounds pretty good. The orders are still going to be around. They're going to be very useful. Let's see. Well, actually, yeah, you know, one of the things that, because these characters will now be harder to pick off, they will be able to be, they'll be more survivable. You won't be able to just put volumes of fire onto their unit and eventually kill them. You'll have to kill several units in order to get a unit in a position so that it's closest to the target HQ to actually deal damage out. So I think you're going to see that characters are going to last a lot longer in the game than they used to, which is always good. So that's a good thing for my Ethereal, and it's a good thing for my Warlocks. The Eldar Warlock Council is between 1 and 10 Warlocks. They can, since they're only characters, they cannot leave the unit, and they can't join other units anyway. But I hated the fact you couldn't join them because they're a single model on their own. They're extremely vulnerable. They used to hide them in the back near units that they could support, but a lot of their powers were affect him and his unit. So, but it was my cheap 35 point HQ I could throw on the field. Now I can have a Warlock or more, which is very fluffy in my Dragon Master, or in actually my House Clans Exodite piece, because those are the nobles, the barons, and what have you, who are in a position. They're there guiding and leading the people. Well, you can have a bunch of them on the table, and they're acting in a leadership role now. They're the HQ. They're influencing units around them. I think this is actually going to be a very big help to the fluff the narrative of my House Clan army. So I'm really kind of looking forward to see how that plays out in the War Scrolls. Still a little worried their limits are, or they're limited in their abilities, psychic ones, but still, it's from a fluff perspective, it's pretty good. Now, finally, kind of overall thoughts. It looks like it's going to balance out the game really well, and my orcs are hopefully going to be fun now. I'm really excited about that. Yeah, because they'll be a target. Sorry, they won't be targets anymore. They'll actually be a threat, not just something for the opponent to shoot. You know, if I read it right, I won't need my gargantuan creatures, you know, Wraith Knight and Hierodule, to make my Exodites functional on the table, because they'll be able to shoot things, they'll be able to handle the things on their own. So that's always a big improvement. When you're not forced to bring a gargantuan creature, that's always good. My guard army is going to be viable, with the orders for first rank fire, second rank fire, giving me possibly 4 shots from a lasgun within 12 inches, and it could be like a hot shot lasgun, which is a high-powered, AP3 kind of weapon, I like. Of course, the real impacts are going to be known only when we get the rules out and the war scrolls out. So stay positive. That's what I'm doing. And so far, I'm pretty excited. Now, given the morale piece, I am still reserving the right to rant mercilessly if the morale is as bad as I believe, or don't believe it. I imagine it could be. I'm hoping it's not, but I'm holding judgment, but I do reserve the right to rant when it does come out. All right? So I'm sorry it's been a kind of a long video, more of a ramble than anything else, but I just thought I'd kind of share my thoughts, and hopefully you found it entertaining. Hopefully you were listening along while you were painting, and so you didn't waste your time, right? So just let me know what you guys think about Ace so far, how it's going to affect the models you play and the armies you play, from what you know so far. Okay? So share, like, and subscribe. Talk to you guys later. Thanks for paying attention. Thanks for staying with me. And I'll see you in the next video. Bye.